Some people grow up feeling slightly out of step with the world around them. Not obviously broken, not dramatically gifted either, just misaligned. Too quiet when others are loud, too thoughtful when others act, too slow for a world that praises speed. From the outside, it can look like hesitation. From the inside, it feels like depth. While others rush toward applause, they observe. While others commit early to careers, identities, relationships, they pause. Not because they are afraid, but because something in them refuses to move before it understands. And for most of their early life, this difference doesn't feel like a gift, it feels like a flaw. Modern society is built to reward visibility. It favors those who adapt quickly, speak confidently, and move without friction. Classrooms reward participation, not reflection. Workplaces reward initiative, not contemplation. Social systems reward those who know who they are early and can explain it clearly. But not every personality is designed for early certainty. Carl Jung believed that human development doesn't follow a single timeline. Some people are shaped to adapt early, to integrate smoothly into the external world. Others are shaped for something slower and more inward. He understood that the rarest type of personality often does not bloom on schedule. This type doesn't dominate classrooms. It doesn't shine in early careers. It doesn't chase recognition or compete loudly for space. Instead, it watches, it absorbs, it questions things most people accept without thinking. As children, these individuals often seem unusually serious or inward. They may be described as old souls, introverted, or strangely intense. They sense emotional undercurrents they can't yet name. They ask questions that feel out of place for their age, and because the world doesn't know what to do with this kind of depth, it often tries to correct it. Speak up, be more confident. Just pick something, don't overthink. Slowly they learn that who they are doesn't fit neatly into the systems around them. As teenagers and young adults, the gap widens. While their peers appear to move forward, choosing paths, forming identities, gaining momentum, they feel stuck. Not directionless, but unconvinced. They can sense when something isn't aligned, even if they can't articulate what alignment would look like. This is usually the stage where doubt sets in. They start to believe they're late to life, that they've missed some invisible deadline everyone else understood. They compare their inner complexity to other people's outer progress and assume something must be wrong with them. But Jung would argue the opposite. He warned that people who adapt too easily often lose something essential. When identity forms too quickly, it is usually borrowed, taken from culture, expectation, or imitation. It functions well, but it isn't deeply rooted. The rare personality carries more inner weight, and weight takes time to organize. Their life does not unfold in straight lines. It moves in loops. It circles inward before it moves outward. There are periods of confusion, withdrawal, and apparent stagnation. From the outside, it can look like failure. From the inside, it feels like incubation. They try paths that don't fit. They enter roles that drain them. They start over more than once. And each time, they walk away with a deeper understanding of what they are not. This is important because for this personality, self-knowledge is not optional. It is a requirement. Without it, any success feels hollow. Any progress feels false. So life slows them down until alignment becomes unavoidable. Society doesn't celebrate this phase. There are no milestones for inner development, no applause for saying no to the wrong life, no rewards for waiting. So these individuals often feel invisible, but invisibility has a strange advantage. When no one is watching, you are free to become something real. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming one's true self, is not about improvement. It is about integration, about bringing unconscious material into awareness, about facing inner contradictions instead of bypassing them. And that process cannot be rushed. The rarest personality is not built for early success. It is built for late emergence, not because it lacks ability, but because its foundation takes longer to form. Something is being assembled beneath the surface, something that cannot be faked. And when it finally begins to show itself, it doesn't arrive with noise. It arrives with clarity. If you've always felt like you're behind, like life started without you, this is not a message of motivation. It's a message of orientation. What feels like delay may actually be preparation. What feels like wandering may be a necessary descent. Because some people aren't meant to arrive early, they're meant to arrive whole. Here's the paradox most people miss. Internally, these individuals often feel ancient, emotionally rich, psychologically deep, but outwardly they appear delayed, slower to launch, slower to commit, slower to fit. And because modern systems reward speed, obedience, and imitation, this delay is treated as a problem. School doesn't know what to do with them. It measures intelligence by output, not insight, by answers, not questions. These individuals hesitate, reflect, and resist simplification, so they're labeled distracted, unmotivated, or underperforming. Society misreads them. Peers seem to move ahead. Careers begin. Identities solidify. Confidence grows. Meanwhile, they're still unsure, still questioning, still searching for something that hasn't revealed itself yet. From the outside, it looks like falling behind. But Jung believed this early friction was not an accident. It was a psychological necessity. The first reason is simple but profound. Their inner world is unusually strong. Most people build identity by absorbing the external world. They copy values, beliefs, goals, and behaviors. They look outward for cues and adapt themselves accordingly. This creates early confidence and social fluency. But the foundation is often shallow. It works, but it's borrowed. The rare personality works differently. Their inner world is vivid and crowded. Thoughts, symbols, emotions, intuitions, all happening at once. There's a constant inner dialogue, a sense that something meaningful is forming beneath the surface, even if it doesn't have language yet. Jung would describe this as a psyche where the unconscious is highly active, and this creates a problem early in life. When the inner world is louder than the outer one, adaptation becomes difficult. These individuals cannot simply become what society asks them to be, not because they are defiant, not because they want to stand out, but because something in them resists false alignment. They feel it immediately when a path isn't theirs, so they hesitate. They delay decisions others make easily, career choices, relationships, beliefs, labels, life scripts. While others move forward with certainty, they pause, sensing that committing too early would mean betraying something essential. From the outside, this hesitation looks like confusion or immaturity. From the inside, it feels like suffocation. Jung warned that forcing these individuals into premature identities can cause lifelong psychological damage. When the psyche lives a life that doesn't belong to it, it doesn't simply adapt, it fractures, it compensates, it develops symptoms, anxiety, depression, chronic dissatisfaction, a vague sense of living someone else's life. So the rare personality unconsciously resists early success, not because it doesn't want to succeed, but because success without authenticity would cost too much. This leads to the second reason they appear to fall behind, and why that delay is necessary. In their 20s, the contrast becomes especially painful. Others seem to be progressing smoothly: promotions, relationships, social confidence, a clear sense of direction. The world rewards them for moving forward quickly. The rare personality, meanwhile, feels stuck. They may move from path to path, try things and walk away, retreat into solitude, appear unambitious, inconsistent, or lost. They often internalize this judgment and begin to see themselves as failures. But Jung would say this is not stagnation, this is incubation. While others are building social structures, status, roles, networks, the rare personality is building psychological structure. Something invisible but essential is taking shape. They are wrestling with questions most people avoid until midlife. Who am I really? What part of me is authentic? What part is imitation? What have I repressed? What am I afraid to face? What does a life that belongs to me actually look like? These questions slow you down. They interrupt momentum. They dissolve certainty. They make simple paths feel unbearable. But they also prevent future collapse. Jung observed that many people who succeed early suffer later. midlife crises, emptiness, depression, a sudden realization that the life they built no longer fits. These are not random breakdowns, they are symptoms of a life lived without individuation. The rare personality pays this price early. They endure confusion while others enjoy clarity. They face uncertainty while others enjoy momentum. They confront the shadow while others avoid it. And because of this, their path looks delayed. But the delay is doing something crucial. It is reorganizing the psyche around truth instead of performance. This brings us to the third burden, the one few people talk about, the burden of consciousness. One of Jung's most unsettling ideas was this: greater consciousness comes with greater suffering. To be deeply aware is to feel more, to notice contradictions, to sense when something is false, even if it works, to carry complexity instead of certainty. The rare personality doesn't just experience life, they reflect on it, analyze it, question it. And this awareness, especially early in life, can feel heavy. But it also prepares them for something most people never reach: a life that is internally aligned, a self that is not borrowed, and a form of success that doesn't collapse under its own weight. The rare personality carries a kind of awareness that can feel like a curse early in life. They notice hypocrisy quickly. They sense manipulation beneath polite language. They see social games, power dynamics, and empty status rituals for what they are. They recognize when people are performing rather than living. And once you see these things, it becomes very hard to unsee them. This awareness creates a serious problem. How do you compete in a game you don't believe in? How do you chase status you don't respect? How do you imitate a life that feels hollow the moment you imagine living it? So instead of playing harder, they pull back. Not always physically, often psychologically. They may still show up, still participate, still smile and nod, but inwardly, something withdraws. They stop investing emotionally in systems that feel false. From the outside, this withdrawal looks like weakness, lack of ambition, low confidence, disengagement. In reality, it's self-protection. Jung believed the psyche will actively sabotage external success if that success threatens inner integrity. When achievement requires self-betrayal, the unconscious refuses to cooperate. Motivation dries up, energy collapses, opportunities fall apart at the last moment. This is why the rare personality often fails when success comes too early. It's not bad luck, it's not incompetence, it's the soul saying no, and that resistance comes at a cost. Loneliness becomes almost unavoidable for this personality type, not because they dislike people, but because their inner complexity makes shallow connection unsatisfying and deep connection rare. They can feel alien even among friends, invisible in groups, misunderstood in intimacy. They crave depth, but depth is not common. This loneliness is not an accident, it's a developmental stage. It often peaks in the late 20s or early 30s, and this is one of the most dangerous periods for the rare personality. Many break here. They numb themselves, they conform, they choose comfort over truth. They adopt identities that don't belong to them just to stop feeling alone. Jung warned that betraying the emerging self creates a lifelong shadow, resentment, bitterness, quiet self-hatred, a sense of having abandoned something essential. But those who endure the loneliness without surrendering go through something crucial: ego dissolution. They stop defining themselves by external validation. They stop measuring their life against borrowed timelines. They stop asking why they don't fit and start listening to what doesn't want to fit. This is when transformation begins, not outwardly. No one applauds this phase. There are no visible markers of progress, but internally something reorganizes. The need for approval weakens. The hunger for comparison fades. The noise quiets, and in that quiet, something real starts to take shape. This is also when the shadow becomes a teacher. Because they fail early, the rare personality becomes intimately familiar with their darker traits: doubt, envy, anger, fear, feelings of inferiority. Most people repress these qualities. They hide them, project them, pretend they don't exist. The rare personality does the opposite. They examine them, they question their motives, they wrestle with contradictions, they notice where they are capable of selfishness, cruelty, weakness, and self-deception. This confrontation is exhausting. It can feel endless, but it creates depth that cannot be fabricated. Jung believed only those who integrate their shadow can wield real power later in life. Power without shadow integration turns into tyranny, addiction, or collapse. It leaks out sideways, it destroys relationships, it corrodes the self from within. This is why the rare personality matures slowly but solidly. They don't build on denial, they build on truth. And because society has no category for people who bloom late, it mislabels them. Lazy, unmotivated, overthinking, wasted potential. These labels are easy. They protect the system from having to question itself. But Jung would argue the opposite. These individuals are not lacking direction. They are resisting premature crystallization. They sense, often without words, that choosing too early means choosing falsely. So they wait. And waiting looks like failure until it doesn't. Then, sometime in the mid-30s or early 40s, something shifts. Not dramatically, not externally at first. Internally, anxiety begins to loosen its grip. Comparison loses its power. Urgency dissolves into clarity. They stop asking who they should be and start embodying who they are. And because that self is not borrowed, it carries weight. Their voice becomes calmer. Their decisions become precise. Their presence becomes difficult to ignore, not because they demand attention, but because nothing about them is performative. Jung believed this is when the rare personality finally enters life, not as a participant, but as a force. At this stage, something fundamental has changed. There is no hunger for approval anymore, not because these individuals have hardened or become indifferent, but because approval is no longer part of their identity structure. It simply doesn't carry the same weight. Opportunities still appear, but they feel different from the ones that showed up earlier in life. They are no longer temptations aimed at ego or image. They are aligned with competence rather than status, responsibility rather than visibility, meaning rather than appearance. This is why the rare personality often finds their stride in fields that reward depth over speed. Long-term thinking, leadership, strategy, psychology, philosophy, art, systems building. Any domain where seeing patterns matters more than winning quickly. They spent years observing while others competed, years watching how people behave, how power moves, how systems fail, how incentives distort values. While others learned how to win, they learned how things actually work. And that knowledge compounds. Another quiet transformation happens here. Subtle, but decisive. They stop fearing judgment, not because they become arrogant, not because they believe they are above criticism, but because judgment loses its power to destabilize them. When your sense of self is no longer dependent on external approval, praise cannot inflate you and criticism cannot break you. You become psychologically unbribable. Jung considered this state rare and deeply threatening to rigid systems, because people who cannot be controlled by reward or fear are difficult to manipulate. They don't chase approval, they don't panic under disapproval. They move according to internal alignment, not external pressure. This is also why the rare personality begins to attract projection. Others sense their autonomy, often without understanding it. Some respond with admiration, others with discomfort or hostility. The rare personality becomes a mirror. People project their own unexamined ambitions, insecurities, and compromises onto them, and this is where social dynamics reverse. Earlier in life, they were overlooked. Now they are watched. Earlier, they doubted themselves. Now others begin to doubt themselves around them. This shift can feel disorienting. Many rare personalities hesitate to step into visibility because they still carry the memory of early rejection. They remember being dismissed, misunderstood, underestimated. A part of them still wants to stay hidden. But Jung warned that refusing one's rightful place is also a betrayal of the self. Individuation does not mean disappearing. It means bearing the weight of who you have become. This is where shadow integration becomes critical. Because they know their own darkness, they are not afraid of power. They don't need to abuse it. They don't need to prove anything. Their ambition becomes surgical, their movements economical, their energy conserved. This is late life momentum. While others begin to burn out, maintaining identities they chose too early, the rare personality is just beginning. Their strength doesn't come from intensity. It comes from precision. Relationships change too. They no longer seek intensity for validation. They seek resonance. Fewer connections, but deeper, cleaner, more stable. They stop trying to be understood by everyone and start allowing themselves to be understood by the right people. Jung believed this was a clear sign of psychological maturity, the capacity to endure being misunderstood without becoming bitter. And bitterness is the final test. Many people almost make it here and fail. They look back at their earlier years with resentment. They measure themselves against false timelines. They relive comparisons that no longer matter. And in doing so, they poison their own emergence. Those who succeed do something very different. They reinterpret the past. They stop seeing delay as failure and start seeing it as insulation, protection, preparation. They understand that their slow development saved them from building a life on a false foundation. This reframing releases energy. They stop dragging the past behind them and begin integrating it. Their story becomes coherent, not impressive, not dramatic, but internally consistent. And coherence creates gravity. This is when their influence expands, not through force, but through example. Others sense stability in a world that feels increasingly fragmented. They become reference points, anchors. People feel calmer around them without knowing why. Jung believed individuals like this often become guides without intending to, mentors without advertising, leaders without titles. Their presence reorganizes space, and yet through all of this they remain free. They are not addicted to outcomes. They are not chasing legacy or trying to prove that their life mattered. They are not afraid of endings. They already survived the hardest initiation there is, becoming themselves without permission. That is why, when success finally arrives, it does not consume them, it expresses them. By the time the rare personality reaches the second half of life, the game most people are still trapped in has already lost its grip. Status no longer seduces them. Approval no longer directs them. Fear no longer rushes them into decisions that don't belong to them. This is where Jung's psychology becomes almost prophetic. He believed that the first half of life is about building an ego, establishing identity, competence, and place in the world. But the second half is meant for something entirely different. Not expansion outward, but expansion upward. Integration, wisdom, meaning. Most people never reach this stage. They spend their energy defending identities they formed too early, protecting roles that no longer fit, clinging to relevance, youth, or recognition, because without them, they wouldn't know who they are. The rare personality arrives here prepared. While others panic at aging, the rare personality experiences something unexpected: relief. For the first time, they feel aligned with time itself. Their energy increases not because they are doing more, but because it is no longer divided. They are not pretending, not performing, not proving. Their psyche is unified, and a unified psyche is powerful. This is why their peak often comes after 40. Not louder, not flashier, but undeniable. They move more slowly now, not from uncertainty, but from precision. Speed is no longer necessary. Every decision is filtered through depth. Every commitment is deliberate. Waste disappears. Jung believed this stage creates a rare form of authority without domination. People listen not because they are intimidated, but because something feels solid. People follow not because they are impressed, but because something feels real. There is no urgency in their presence, no hunger, no grasping. This is also why these individuals often reshape environments rather than adapt to them. They don't rebel loudly, they don't fight systems head-on. They simply refuse to participate in what is false, and that quiet refusal alone destabilizes weak structures. To outsiders, their success can look effortless. What no one sees is the cost, the failures that refined perception, the loneliness that sharpened discernment, the delay that prevented corruption. Unlike early success, this kind of success does not rot from the inside. There is no midlife collapse here because there is nothing to escape from. Their life makes sense to them, and that is the final reward Jung spoke of. Not happiness, not wealth, not admiration, but inner coherence, the feeling that your life belongs to you. Once someone reaches this state, nothing external can truly threaten them. Loss still hurts, but it does not destroy. Criticism still stings, but it does not derail. Even death is faced differently, not as an interruption, but as a completion. This is why Jung believed the rarest personality represents psychological evolution itself, a human being who refuses to sacrifice the soul for speed or truth for approval. So if you have felt late to life, if you have felt out of sync, misunderstood, or misplaced, you may not be behind, you may be early for a different kind of life. And if this message resonated with you, if you recognized yourself somewhere in this journey, consider subscribing to the channel. These videos are not for everyone. They are for those walking the long path of individuation, depth, and self-mastery. The rare path is lonely, but you don't have to walk it without understanding.